Hello friends, I'm back in here in the shop, getting ready to start something new. I haven't quite finished that carving in the round yet. I have to paint it, but as I mentioned at the end of my last video, I do have a show coming up here, and it's next weekend for me. Not sure when this video is going to hit. So today I'm just going to do something short and quick, just so that I have a little bit of content out there for you. If you remember, I was talking about doing little doorways. My sister does. She has plants. She has a greenhouse, and she does little potted succulents and what have you. And she'll be with me at the show. She has a little booth that she sells all of these. She does things by seed and cutting and what have you. So I'm going to have one of these little blocks. I'm going to do a doorway for you. I've already taken and done a little bit of work on this. With my bandsaw, I cut out this little bit of design, and I've already drawn on here. I want to do a little hobbit door. So many people like these. They love the Hobbit, and they love these little doors. It's similar to any other fairy door, just it's a Hobbit door. I'm going to go ahead and get started with this. Let's go. You'll notice that I have changed the setup here for my downdraft table. I saw this on a channel called Matt Carves, where he has a much smaller area with the holes in it to give him much better suction. My table didn't have that. I had a much larger area, and it did a decent job. I went ahead and put this duct tape on here to make the footprint of the holes a little bit smaller. And already I can hear the suction sounds incredibly much stronger than it has before. So we'll see here in a second when I start carving. And again, like I said, this is something I saw on Matt Carves on Matt's channel. I'll link Matt's channel below so that you can go take a look at him. He's a fantastic wood carver. So give him a good look at, if you wouldn't mind. And I really like the way this table performs now. The way this is set up, it really does suck. So what I've done, as you can see, I've got the framework around the door. I've got the inset for the door. This door is going to have to go down a little bit further. I'm going to put a knob right here in the middle, but I think what I'm going to do is use one of the nails to put in there to have that, so I don't have to carve it. Same with this window. I do need to put in the cross piece there. This is going to be all stonework up to the wood roof that we see here. And then this is going to be the basement, or the foundation is what that's going to end up being there. So, all right, let's move on. Well, you could see that we have a little bit of a mistake that happened there, but it's all right. We'll just make it look old and weathered. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing some of the stonework. Well, there you go. You got some stonework. You got a window. I'm going to probably make this like stones going around here instead of wood. And this will be a wooden door right in here. This is kind of a short one because this is pretty much going to be done here in a second. I'll probably go ahead and get the painting done as well right on this video, so you'll see the whole thing completely done. One shot. So what do you guys think? Got some nice wood grain in that door. Got some brick down across the bottom. I don't think I'm going to go around the side. Let me go ahead and I'm going to do a nice light sanding on this, and I'll show you that with my flap sander, and then we'll go ahead and start painting. Just in case you missed this, and I think I may have said this at the beginning, that this is from a piece of American white cedar. When I was doing that sanding, you could really smell that cedar. That's another part that makes this relaxing, is each different species of wood has its own unique smell, and this is just amazing. It really does calm you down and make you nice and relaxed a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video for now, get my paints all set up. We'll go ahead and get this thing painted. So let the painting begin. First, what I'll do is I'm going to water down my it's an antique brown that I've got, and I like it because if I water it down, I can get it down into the cracks. Still lets the wood show through. That gives us the doorway. So I like the way that looks. Again, a little bit of water. I'm going to take some of my antique red here and go over top of these bricks. And I want to do my best. Sometimes it's going to seep in because I did water it some, but again, it's okay. So we have the color on for our brick. Bricks aren't done at all. I have some more detailing to put on those. So I think now what we're going to go with is I'm going to go ahead and get some of the gray, and again, watered down. And I'm going to go ahead and put the gray on the stones. And it's okay if you get some, I mean, if you can see, at least I think you can see it, some of the red is still wet and it's coming up onto those. It's not going to hurt anything. If you've ever looked at rocks have a ton of different colors in them. Red being one. You might see a rock with a little bit of a red stain on it or red something, who knows. We're just going to leave it. We're not worried about it. Again, you're not going to be making these perfect. You can try. You could probably end up making yourself very frustrated in doing so, and you don't want that. The whole idea of this is to relax. Today's Sunday. It's a Sunday afternoon. It's a great day to relax. So I'm going to go ahead and put some very light wash of gray on these bricks, and actually more like stonework. You can just see what I just did there. My red down here for the brick, you can see what's going on here. It is super nice when you're doing these paintings. You want to go ahead and put a nice light wash down, and then you'll see I've taken some darker color. Hopefully that's you can see that in there where it's got two different shades of that red in there. That's kind of what you're looking for. You want to see that change in color. It gives it a more of a three-dimensional look. It gives it a more natural look to it. So now what I'm going to do is take some of this antique stuff and do a light little brush over the top of these, just to give them more of a brick color. Next, what I want to do is take some of the tan, or light beige is actually what it is. I'm going to do a real quick little dry brush. over top of the wood. And what that's going to do is help us make that stuff pop right off of that piece. And before I get to the window, I want to finish up on the brick. So the brick, I'm sorry, not the brick, the stone. We can see that the stone just really looks flat. Even though it is obviously three-dimensional, it's flat because it doesn't have any shading. So I'm going to go ahead and take some black, dry brush it on, mostly near the bottom. If it gets up on the top, so be it. It's not a problem. But we're going to put some black on that to give it some character, to give it some depth. And so that's kind of what we're doing here. So we've added some black. And of course you can see the black went up on the top a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is take a little bit of white, mix it in with that beige color. And so we want to take just a light touch and give it a light bit of that lighter color up on here. And that's going to give us more three-dimensional look to these pieces. You can even take and just do a little bit of a wipe on here as well. And then gently wipe some off. There we have that. I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of black down in here. That just felt too much in there. So now I need to get a smaller brush. With that smaller brush, I'm going to use some of this darker antique brown. And this is undiluted. I want to go ahead and get the framework on this window. So now what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of water to the top of this, just so that it runs down in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do inside the window now. I'm not doing the cross members until last. A good thing about adding water to your paint, especially in this situation, is it will help it to flow down into those corners. You don't need them to be perfect, and they're not going to expect them to be. What you're really highlighting here is your carving. Painting is not the end of the road here for you. What I want to do next is let this dry, and then I have a stain overcoat that I'm going to put on top of that. So friends, this is what we call and I think I've mentioned this before, these are carpet tack nails. You can get them pretty much anywhere. Any hardware store, I should say, not anywhere. And I'm going to use that. These things make great little doorknobs. I make bandsaw boxes. These are great to put in as something to put in, and then have a nail glued to the top of them to give you to give it a little standoff sort of. And that comes in very handy for hobbit doorknobs. The last thing I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this some of this wood stain on here. This is called red mahogany. We'll go ahead and we'll just coat this up with this. And yes, it's going to look really disgustingly gross. You're not going to like the way it looks right now, but give it a second. You'll see what happens here. Now, especially with lighter colored woods, you don't want to let this stuff just sit on here for too long, because the stuff will soak it right up. And then it may end up being too dark overall. But I just like to get the whole thing completely covered. Then once it's covered, I'll take you can let it sit. The longer it sits, the darker it gets. But in this instance, I don't want it too dark. I want to go through here and wipe it off. So it's really just giving it, obviously, just a stain. And I just spilled my stain everywhere. That's special. And there we go. We have a finished piece.